This conference will now be recorded.
Okay guys, let's get started. So in the last session, we discussed about the historical background of SCCM. So SCCM started in 1994 as SMS 1.0. Okay. Then the latest and greatest version of SCCM is MECM 2211, right? Now this version 2211 is released when? November 2022, last year. So previously, we used to call this product as SMS System Management Server, then SCCM System Center Configuration Manager, and then the new name is Microsoft Endpoint Configuration Manager. Now we discuss about the sites. There are 3 site servers in SCCM: Central, then Primary, and then Secondary. So Central Administration Site Server is an optional site server. Primary site is what? It's a mandatory one. And secondary site is what? It is an optional site server. Each site server needs database. Central needs database, primary needs database, and secondary needs database. And all of them can be installed on a separate box on Windows Server 2012 or greater. Okay. Now, how many devices you can have in one central administration site hierarchy? It is 825,000 devices. One primary site can have maximum 175,000 devices, and secondary site can have maximum 15,000 devices. This is the maximum limit. Okay. Now the main site in SCCM is this one, the primary site server. This one. You can have one primary or more than one primary site servers. One primary can manage up to 175,000 devices in total. So we discussed about these things yesterday. We discussed about the hierarchy and the architecture diagram. Now database replication, we have already discussed yesterday. Whatever the data secondary collects, it's going to pass on to the primary database. Whatever the data primary collects is going to pass on to the central database, like this. So database replication happens from downward to upward. Okay, from bottom to top. Now in today's session, we are going to discuss about site roles. These are the site roles in SCCM. One by one, we are going to discuss what are these site roles. Some of them are mandatory, some of them are optional, and why do we need these roles? We will see them together. Okay. Now, I hope you guys are able to hear me and see my screen. Can anyone confirm?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Okay. So, what is a management point? Okay. Management point is what? It's a communication bridge, right? Communication bridge between the server and the client machines. For example, you have like 50,000 client machines. The client machine will not be talking to the server directly. Okay. It will be communicating through the management point. Management points is like a front face for the client machines. Management point is a communication bridge. You can have one management point or more than one management points. Okay. One primary site can have how many management point? One primary site can have maximum 10 management point. Okay, and one management point can have maximum 25. It can give it can communicate up to 25,000 client machines. Okay, 25,000. One management point can communicate up to 25,000 clients. So maximum 10 management point you can have in one primary site hierarchy. Okay, now it's a communication bridge. Point number two, it's a mandatory role. It's a mandatory role. That means you have to have this one, either one or more than one, but at least one is required. Because if you don't have management point, you will not have any connection with the client machines. The server cannot communicate to the client machine. Now, what will happen when we have management point? Management point basically is going to supply the policy to the devices. So it will have all the policies. Policies means instruction. Suppose I have to install application on 10,000 machines. That is what? That is a policy. I have to deploy Firefox to all the computers in Mumbai. I need to install Google Chrome to all the machines in HR team, right? I have to deploy updates. I need to deploy operating system. So all these are policies. So we create policy here, right? And then the policies are stored here. Okay. So we create the policy here on the primary site, and then the policies are stored on the management point. Management point will keep the policies, and then it will supply the policy to the target devices. The policy, the client machine will download the policy from management point. So point number three, everyone put yourself on mute. I'm getting background noise. It's a policy keeper. It keeps policies so that the client machine can download the policy and perform the task, whatever the task you would like to um, perform on the computers. Now what else the management point does? Management point will collect inventory from the devices. So these are like 50,000 machines. So I would like to know about these machines, what is the operating system of these machines, what all software installed in these computers, what is the hardware configuration, what is the software configuration, how much space is remaining in C drive, how much space is remaining in D drive, what is the serial number, motherboard. All these information, the client will scan the machine and send it to the management point. All the client will send it. Client means what? It's a small software which will be installed like agent. We have to put the agent in all these 50,000 machines. Small software, that's SCCM small software which we have to install, and then the client will do the scanning and send the inventory information to the server, the management point. Management point is like an inventory collector of all the devices. It will collect inventory. Okay, so no matter how many devices you have, whether you have 10,000, 50,000, the client needs to get installed in all the machine, and then the client will send the inventory to management point, all the client. Okay, and what will happen to the data? The client will send the inventory to the management point, right? So point number four, sorry, point number four, it is inventory collector. Now what will happen to the data which it collects? As you remember, we have talked about database. Primary site has a database. So management point is gonna store these data in the database. Whatever the data it will collect from the devices, it's gonna dump those data in the database. So it's an inventory collector, right? As you see, stores client data to database. Now where will you install this role? This role you can install this on primary, secondary, or any other site server, any other Windows server, I mean. So this role you can install this on primary site. For example, you have primary site, we can install management point on the same server. You can also install management point on secondary site server. You can also install management point on any other separate Windows server. Suppose if you have a CAS, central administration site server, you cannot install management point on that machine. On CAS, you will not be able to install manage, it's not supported. Okay, but on primary you can, on secondary you can, and on a separate box you can. So that's a management point, guys. So management point plays a very crucial role in SCCM. If this is down, then what will happen? The client will not get the policy, client will not be able to upload the inventory data, then it will not be able to upload the data to the database. So it will be like the communication will be broken between the server and the client. The client and server cannot talk to each other. Okay, that is a management point. Now we are going to discuss about distribution point. What is a distribution point? Distribution point is like ATM. Suppose you are in Mumbai. Okay, okay, one of you guys are in uh, is in Mumbai. Now you have a bank account in a state bank. Okay, the bank account in state bank SBI is in, for example, it's in it's in um, Bandra, for example. There is a location in Mumbai, Bandra. For example, your state bank account is there in Bandra now, but you are now in Delhi. Okay, or a different location. You are not in Bandra, you are outside Bandra, you are in Delhi or Chennai or Kolkata, in somewhere, on a different location. Now, what will happen if you need to withdraw cash? If you have to withdraw cash, you will go to the nearby ATM, right? You don't have to come back to the Bandra center and collect money from there. You can go to the nearby ATM, right? And uh, you can get you can withdraw cash from there. So distribution point works in the same fashion. It is like an ATM. So the client machines, for example, these machines are in Mumbai and they need to download content. Content means the software files, application files, update files, operating system files. So from where they will download? They will download from nearby distribution point. So Mumbai distribution point, they will download the content from Mumbai distribution point. For example, some machines are in London, right? For example, 2000 machines are in London and they need to download the content. So from where they will download? They will download from London distribution point. The distribution point is like a file storage, okay? File storage, which will store all the files, the software files, the update files, and operating system files. And the client machine can download the content from its nearby distribution point. Similarly, if some machines are in Paris, so the machine in Paris will download the content from Paris distribution point. So distribution point is what? It's a mandatory role. Point number one, you can make a note of it. It's what? It's a mandatory role. Second point, it's a content storage. It will store files. Content storage. Point number three, client will download content from here. The client machine, the computer, will download the content from where? From the nearby distribution point. Okay. And where can you install this role? You can install this role on primary, secondary, any other Windows server, and any other Windows client machine. So this role is a mandatory role. Every region will have a distribution point, every location. Mumbai will have its own distribution point. London will have its own distribution point. Chennai will have its own distribution point. Okay. Every region will have its own distribution point. You can install this role on this primary site, secondary site, any other Windows server, any other Windows client. Now, how many distribution point you can install? You can install 250 distribution point under one primary site hierarchy. 250 distribution point. Okay, clear? That's what that is, a distribution point, guys. Now, software update point. Software update point is to deploy updates. Suppose you have like thousands and thousands of computers. Okay, 10,000 computers or 20,000 computers, and you need to deploy updates to those machines. Updates, who will release the update? How will you get the update? You can get the update from Microsoft. uh, Microsoft is releasing updates every month. They are releasing update, so you will get the update on Microsoft update server. So Microsoft update server will dump the update here every month, and then from there you can synchronize those update into WSUS, and from there you can synchronize the update into software update point, and then finally it will reach to MECM. Once it reaches to MECM, you can deploy updates to your target machines. For example, you have 50,000 computers. I would like to keep these machines up to date, right? User will not install the latest updates to their computers. It is your primary responsibility to keep the machines up to date. So how will you get it up to date? You need to install this role, software update point. Software update point, it is an optional role. It is basically needed to integrate WSUS. So whatever the data we have here, we will be able to integrate here into software update point, and then finally it will reach here. It's a communication bridge between WSUS and MECM. So it is required to integrate WSUS and MECM. It is required to deploy updates from MECM to client machines, right? And it can be installed, this role can be installed on central, primary, or any other Windows server. Okay.
Sir, I have a question, sir. Really?
Yeah.
Sir, suppose we are not planning to install WSS, means how this update will be downloaded?
Without WSUS, you cannot do that. Got it?
Okay. So WSS is
WSUS
mandatory
has
for
to be.
SCCM?
If you would like to
Ah,
deploy updates through SCCM, it is mandatory. If you don't want
mandatory.
to
Okay.
deploy updates through SCCM, you can do it through WSUS portal itself without
Mm-hmm.
integrating WSUS into SCCM.
Okay.
Okay?
Okay. So it is mandatory, right? For a MECM, WSS should be there, right? For every infra.
No, no, no. It's not mandatory. It is an optional
Okay.
role. Why? Because some people are not using SCCM to deploy updates. They are using WSUS itself. So what
Yeah,
they are
right, right.
doing is they are directly
Hmm.
deploying update from WSUS itself. Okay.
Okay. Yeah. Hmm.
But in our case, we are not going to deploy updates. We will synchronize the update from here to MECM, and then we will deploy.
Okay. Okay. Got it.
Okay.
Got it. Yeah. Yeah. Got it. Clear.
Now the next role is um, SMS provider. SMS provider is a role which is a mandatory role in SCCM. It's a mandatory role, as you see the point number one. Point number two, it is a translator which sits between database and MECM. It is like a translator. Suppose you speak French, I speak English. We cannot talk to each other because of the language barrier. We need a translator. So SMS provider acts like a translator between MECM, because MECM is using WMI query language and database is using what? SQL query language. These are two different languages. So MECM will use WMI query language and it is going to pass on the query to SMS provider. SMS provider will convert that query into SQL and SQL will pass on, it will feed to the database. So it is a translator. Second, it's a communication bridge. So MECM directly cannot talk to database. It needs a translator like this. It's a communication bridge between primary site server and database server. Point number three, four, it's a WMI provider which gives read and write access to the database. So without this, SCCM will not be able to access database. Okay. Where can you install this role? You can install this role on primary site, or you can install this role on database server or any other Windows server. Okay, that is SMS provider.
Sir, what is WM actually?
WMI is a query language, just like SQL. It is
Okay.
similar to WMI, Windows Management Instrumentation. So suppose if you would like to know about, you know, uh, when you type in some information, I'll show you what is WMI actually. So suppose you go to the CMD command prompt, and in command prompt you type in this get WMI object minus class. Class means what? I would like to know about Win32 product. Whatever the applications installed in this computer, give me the list of those uh, product. So if I hit enter, sorry, mm, PowerShell, PowerShell, PowerShell. Hmm. If I run this, what will happen? It is gonna list down all the applications which are installed in this computer. You see, it is giving me the list of applications. So let me do one thing. Let me type in select only name. Give me the name of the application only. You see, it gave me the list of all the applications which are installed. So it has this, my machine has some application like go to opener, then official, this. These are the list of applications I got in my computer. So how it gave me the information? Every computer has a WMI repository. Where is repository? Let me show you the repository. C Windows System 32, then drivers, no, System 32, and then um, WebM. Yes, WebM, and then we have repository here. You see, repository. Now, all this is what this is repository is like a database. Small database. In every machine you will find this one: C drive, Windows System 32, WebM repository. It has all the information, but you cannot read this information. It is not like a notepad file or wordpad file which you can open and read the information. This is not in human readable format. Now in order to read this, you need WMI query, just like I did. This is a WMI query. When I ran this, what happened? It connected to the repository and it found the information from here, and it is now giving us the information. You see, this is coming from where? From the WMI repository.
Yes. Yes,
Got
sir.
it?
Yes, sir.
So
Okay.
similarly, SCCM uses that technology, that query language to query the computers to get the inventory of the machine, to find out what all software present in the computer, what is the motherboard information, what is the uh, hardware of the machine. But that this command you cannot run in where? In the SQL server, in the database. SQL server uses a different query language. So SMS provider will convert this one, get WMI object. The SMS provider will convert that, translate into something which SQL server understands, and then it will pass on the information to SQL database. Okay, so that is SMS provider. Now the next point is asset intelligence synchronization point. Now this asset intelligence synchronization point is deprecated in new version of SCCM. It is no more available in SCCM, but previously we used to have this one, asset intelligence synchronization point. It is an optional role. It is required to categorize software. It will also help you to manage software license. It can be installed on CAS, primary, or any other Windows server. Okay, it will categorize the machine application like this. Some application will fall under browser category, some application will fall under player category, some will fall under database, and some will fall under developer category. So who will do the categorization? It will be SCCM server who will, for example, you have like 50,000 software installed in all the machines. Total number of software 50,000. Let's say you have 10,000 machines. On 10,000 we have 50,000 computers. So now 50,000 application information is there in SCCM database. Now who will do the category? Who will categorize? SCCM will categorize the application like this. You see, some application will fall under browser category, some player category, some database, some developer, like this. Okay, that is an optional role in SCCM, and it is deprecated in SCCM2. Then we have endpoint protection. Endpoint protection is to manage Windows Defender. By default, Windows Defender is present in all the machines now. That's what? That is an antivirus. So it is present. Windows Defender is present in Windows 10. It is present in Windows 11. It is also there in Windows Server from 2016 onwards. 2016, then 2019, and then 2022. So Windows Server 2016 onwards and Windows 10 and 11, we have what? By default, Windows Defender is present here. Every machine, Windows Defender. This is what? Antivirus. Antivirus. Why do we need antivirus? To protect
Security
the machine
purpose. Protect.
from virus. Yes, for security. So no, so virus should not come in the machine, right? So by default, Microsoft is giving it to you. But how will you manage it? So antivirus also needs update. So what all things it needs? Antivirus needs policies. How it will behave in the machine. You know, when it will do the full scan, when it will do the quick scan, when it finds any virus, what it has to do. Will it kill the virus? Will it quarantine the file? So there are policies for Windows Defender. Second, updates for Windows Defender. If you don't update your Windows Defender, then what will happen? It will not be able to catch new viruses, right? Then it has to block, unblock some of the applications, or some, some of the things. Suppose USB, you would like to block USB. You would like to block some application. You would like to block uh, some of the things in computer, so you can do that through this Windows Defender, right? Plus, Windows Defender will also kill viruses or malware. It will quarantine file. Quarantine means, you everyone knows that quarantine to separate, remove a file from that location and keep it separate so that it will not um, spread the virus to other files. So all these policies and updates and unblock and kill viruses, malware, quarantine, all these you can do it through this role in SCCM. When you install this role, endpoint protection point role, what will happen? You will be able to manage Windows Defender in the computers. Okay, we can define policies of all the Windows Defender of all the machines. We can deploy updates, right? We can do all these things. So it is an optional role. Why optional? Because people are not using it. People are using third party antivirus like Symantec or Norton or AVG. Then it is required to install and manage Windows Defender antivirus on target machines, right? Then it is needed to configure Windows Defender policies for client computers, and it can be installed on primary site or any other Windows server. Okay, this is what this is endpoint protection point, which is an optional role. Next is reporting services point. Reporting is too simple to get the reports. All our reports are here. So all the reports are present here. Okay. Like there are 471 reports here in database. Now I would like to access these reports. How will I access? I need to install reporting services point on database machine, on this machine. When I do that, what will happen? These 471 reports, I can integrate them into SCCM and I can access them from here. So I can access these reports from SCCM itself. So I don't have to go to database. So it's a mandatory role. Why mandatory? Because whatever you do, you need a report for that. You deployed an application, you need a report for that. You deployed Windows updates or operating system, you need a report for that. It's a mandatory role. Second, it is needed to connect to the database and integrate the report from there. When you install this role, then only this is possible. Otherwise, it is not possible, right? And where you can install this, you can only install this on database. You can't install this role on any other server. So that is reporting services point. Okay, this is a mandatory role, guys. Next is service connection point. Service connection point is what? It's an optional role. Why it is an optional role? Because it is up to you. If you would like to, if you don't want to install, you can skip this one. Okay, now there are two things which it does. First, it will communicate to Microsoft Update Server and find out any new update for MECMs. Right now, what is the latest version of SCCM? 2211. But in future, we will have latest version as 2303. I think it is gonna release. It is gonna be released in this month, March. March they are going to release latest version 2303. 23 means 2023 and 03 is March. So if you would like to upgrade your SCCM from old version to the latest version, you need this role. That will help you to communicate to Microsoft Update Server and give you the notification that new version is available. Then you can upgrade that to the latest one. Okay, so in our training, we will see how to upgrade SCCM from old version to the latest version. That's the first role, as you see. Second, it will communicate to Microsoft Azure Cloud Services, because SCCM cannot directly communicate to Azure Cloud Service like Azure Active Directory, co-management, cloud management gateway. So it is required to integrate Azure Cloud Services in MECM. It can be installed where? You can install this role on primary or central, either on primary, or you can install this on central administration side. Now the last role for today is state migration point. State migration, it is an optional role. It is not a mandatory role. Why? Because this role You only need during migration. If you are not using doing migration, you don't need this one. So it is required while migration of operating system. Okay. Then it captures the user profile before the migration and restores after migration. So whatever the user data is, suppose Uttam is using this machine for like 5 years, okay, and he has some files in the document, some files in C drive, some files in some locations on the my document folder. So he has some files on this machine, but now we are going to give him a new machine, Windows 10. So what about the data? So we will capture these data and then we will save it on the state migration point, and then we can restore these data here on different operating system. So whatever the data he had here, so data will get migrated here, all the data, right? So it captures user profile and before the migration and restores after the migration, right? And then you can install this role on primary, secondary, or any other Windows server. Clear, everyone?
Yes, sir.
So in today's session, we have discussed about some site roles. Now you guys need to let me know which one is mandatory and which one is optional. Hmm?
Management point and distribution are mandatory.
1 minute.
Yes, sir.
Management point, distribution point, SMS provider, and
SMS, yeah,
reporting services point.
Reporting
These are
service.
mandate. Others are optional.
optional.
Okay. 1 minute, guys. So management point, then distribution point, and then SMS provider, and
Yes.
then
Reporting.
reporting
Sync
services
service.
point. These are
Yeah.
mandatory,
Mandatory.
right? Then we have software update point, asset intelligence synchronization point, then endpoint protection point, then we have service connection point, state migration point. These are what? Optional.
Optional.
We will install these roles one by one and we will see how we can use these roles. Okay.
Okay.
Is so how do we know the if client send the details to MECM? Is there any tracking details or log something?
For what?
No, how do we know? So if clients send the details to MECM,
Client will send
if any
details to management point and management point will store the data in the database. So when you launch the console, you will get the information whether client machine has sent that or not, and when it has sent, it will have the date and time as well.
okay. So how do we find it? So if any logs, so we can go and check it or
Yes, log is also there. We will see later on, okay, when we go in the training.
okay. Oh, yeah. Okay, sure.
Okay, guys. So
Yeah.
we have discussed about site roles today. we will do the session tomorrow, and then we will discuss about the practical, how we are going to do our lab setup and practical. Okay.
Sir, one small doubt, sir, final one. So that inventory details will keep on management point database or MECM database?
Management point does not have a separate database. It
Database.
is gonna
Okay.
store it in the primary side database itself.
Okay.
Okay. Okay, guys. Kiran, you joined today.
Thank you.
Kiran,
Yes, sir. I joined today.
can you introduce yourself? Tell me about your background, your IT experience, and your expectation from MECM.
Yes, sir. From CSE background, basically, Hyderabad location. I have IT background, like I have experience around 2 years. This is all about. My expectation, like MSME, I'm new to this course, sir. I don't know. One of my friend referred this course, like how to. I would like to know about this course, like
Okay. You have this number on the screen. This is my WhatsApp number. You can send me a message or call me on this number. I'll give you the details how you can enroll to this course. Okay. So this is
yeah,
like 1 month course. Daily basis we will do 1 hour session, Monday to Saturday at 7 a.m. India time, 7 to 8. Daily basis we will do. Okay.
okay, okay, sir. Thanks.
So you need to contact on this one for further details. Okay.
Yeah, okay, sir.
Okay, guys. We'll meet tomorrow. Bye now.
Yeah, sir.
Bye,
Thank
everyone.
you.
Bye, sir.